how did the defense do now that they've rested? Was there enough to cause reasonable doubt in the mind of the jury? Joining me now, Jesse Weber, attorney at law and friend of the show. Jesse, it's always good to see you. I want to know, first of all, what you think about this two-shooter defense, because it seems like no one saw this one coming, Jesse.
Well, we heard a little bit about it, right? In the opening statements, we heard Dick Harpootlian questioning a SLED agent saying, is it possible that there could be two shooters? She said yes. So we were kind of anticipating it, but to hear it in this bombshell testimony that really showed why it was possible, you know, as Andrew explained, the idea that a shooter could have gotten blowback and been injured and it wouldn't have made sense to have been able to immediately grab a second weapon. I think there's something to it. The idea that you have two victims, two separate weapons, no defensive wounds. It seems both victims were kind of surprised by these attacks. I think it's going to give the jurors at least pause, or at least raise more questions for them as they enter into these deliberation process. Because right now, there are things that tend to lead toward Alex Murdaugh being the killer, and then there are other things that just don't quite make sense.
Let's talk about this Moselle visit, Jesse. Prosecution didn't want it. Defense wanted it. Judge ultimately ruled, yes, it's going to happen, and they're going to head out there this week. How will this work? I know these sort of visits to crime scenes, they happen, but they're somewhat rare. Does the jury get to go out there and ask questions? Do they literally just show them around? What happens, since we won't get to be there, what sort of happens behind the scenes?
Traditionally, they're not allowed to ask questions. They're not allowed to touch anything. They're not allowed to recreate what may have happened. What immediately comes to my mind is the Parkland school shooting. That was, by all accounts, an incredibly difficult day for those jurors because they entered into an area that was frozen in time. This might not be the same thing. We understand there are some changes to the property, but this is going to be important to them because it visualizes. It creates a visual scene for them. I think really what's going to stand out to them is the distance between the kennels and the main property, right? How quick would it have been for Alex Murdaugh to just get right back up there? And this is definitely going to aid them. But again, it's lending towards the end of the case when they have a full 360-degree picture of all the details. I think it's going to help them.
Yeah, it makes sense why they would want to see it. I mean, they've spent 6 weeks in this courthouse behind me listening to all of the expert testimony describing what happened. Obviously, to be there to see it for yourself is going to help. Jesse Weber, thanks so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate it.
Good seeing you, Brian. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.